Welcome to Twin City Talk. Today we are with Winston-Salem Police Chief Penn. Welcome. And also Annie, who's a public information officer in the police department.
Thank you.
So thank you for joining us and your service with our city. How long have you been chief here?
So I've been chief over 2 years now. Yeah, a little over 2 years.
Where are you from originally?
I'm from Winston-Salem.
I'm also from Winston.
Yeah. So you know it well.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
What are some of your favorite, what's your favorite thing about Winston that you love the most?
Well, for me, growing up on the east side of Winston-Salem, I was actually born in Rolling Hill Apartments. Back then they called them New Bethel Apartments. And what I like most about my upbringing and now where I am, it just shows a little kid from the east side of Winston-Salem. If they work hard, they could be chief of police.
What about you?
I like how active our community is, actually, just how outside they want to be, the bike scene, the running scene, just being engaged and outside with one another is really cool.
Yeah. What made you want to be a police officer originally?
So actually, I went to college for business, and on the weekends, I got a job working at Forsyth Hospital. They call it Navant now. And I would work as a security guard, making $10 an hour. I was I was rolling it in back then. And
back then that wasn't.
Yeah. So officers would be working off duty in the emergency room. And one time a guy came in the emergency room and he was just really acting out. And I seen the officer, grab the guy and handcuff him. And I was thinking about, I was in awe of how that officer kept us safe. And then I started talking to the officers, and they said, William, I think this would be good for you. So I applied and decided to give it a shot. Yes.
So what's one of your favorite things about being police chief?
So when I get to interact with the employees at the Winston-Salem Police Department, I'm on cloud nine. And also when I get out in the community, so take away the job stuff, talking to people in the community and talking with the people I work with, that's the best time about being a chief. Yeah.
What's a more challenging part of it?
See how this sounds. I don't know how this is going to sound. Everybody knows how to do my job better than me, right? So and most of the time they don't understand that there's so much more that goes into decision making at the chief level. So many more things than most people realize. And so it's easy to say, hey, they ought to do this. And if you go to social media, every one of them will tell you what I need to be doing or what the police department needs to do. But it's more nuanced than that. So that can be challenging.
I hate to break this to you, but it's not just you. Everything. Well, they needed to do this. They should have done that.
Right.
Yeah. Did you run for that spot? No. Then shut up.
Right. And there's so many things I wish I could do, right? So if I could give the employees at a WSPD 100% raise because they deserve it, I would absolutely do it in a heartbeat. And if there was some magical potion I had that would make people stop shooting one another or harming one another or stop speeding, especially speeding, right? I would do it, but I don't. And so there are ways we have to get there, and sometimes people are impatient.
Do you guys follow the Greensboro Police Department on
We
Facebook?
do.
They have some very interesting posts.
They are so
Pretty
funny. Yes. So I have a good relationship with the Chief Thompson there in Greensboro, and Annie works with the PIOs. So I think the community should feel good to know that the triad, whether it's Kernersville, the Sheriff's Office, High Point, Greensboro, Guilford County, we all have a fantastic working relationship. So they're funny, but Annie interacts with them a lot.
Yes, even their comments back to people are entertaining.
They are.
Yeah. we have a good relationship with them, and I know the person behind the scenes who does not want to
wants to
reveal the identity. So we enjoy it, and we've played along with them a few times. So we play in some of their games a little bit. So it's a lot of fun to partake in.
So you have an important role, but I feel like it's a role a lot of people don't know about or even know what you do. So can you share a little?
Yeah, so the public information officer, and I don't know that I truly knew what I did until a couple months ago, really. So I do a lot of different things, but mainly communication with the media. So any media inquiry, anything that by state statute we have to release. And then I also help run our social media. We have 2 additional team members at the police department. So they've kind of taken over social media, but I kind of approve everything, make sure it looks good. And then I do anything that I need to do to help with chief, facilitate any interviews or any events or special projects. So it's kind of a mix of everything, but also very centralized on just overall communication.
What's the favorite part of your role there?
My favorite part is getting to actually tell the real story. I think we run into a lot, the rumors and part of the story, but we do a good job of sharing the full story. And I really love doing that because there's a lot to be proud of with our officers. And we get to kind of show what they're doing for the good, but we also highlight what we've done bad and we learn from it. And so just being the transparent communication for me is a lot of fun.
What's a challenging part?
I think the challenging thing is I'm always on call, so 24/7. Never really get a break.
Oh,
we were just talking about that a little bit, but I knew that when I signed up. So just always getting a text or a call about something to try to prevent it from coming to the chief or coming to a supervisor.
How did you end up in this role and career?
So I graduated during COVID in 2020, and I was really just looking for any job that would take me. And I applied for a contractor position with the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office, and I knew nothing about police. I knew nothing about public information officer. I did that for a while, and then I got the public information job there. And now I've been at the PD. I made my transition about 2 years ago now, so I've been here for about 2 years, almost the same time as when Chief came in.
Was there a big difference between working for the city and the sheriff?
Yeah, I'm a lot more busy with crime in the city than I am in the county. I think with the county, with an elected office, a lot more events, a lot more public forums, stuff like that. But here it's a lot about crime prevention, proactive policing, true media releases on whatever happens in our city.
So this will run in June. Is there anything this summer that the police department's involved with or events or anything that you can share?
So in partnership with our Winston-Salem Police Foundation, we're going to have a T-ball league at Rupert Bell Park. We've done that for several years now. All the kids have to do is show up and breathe. That's it. We're gonna so the partnership will fund the uniforms, the gloves, the ball, the coaches, the drinks. We'll teach them how to play T-ball. For so many years before the Police Foundation and the Police Department teamed up for this T-ball league, that field in Rupert Bell Park was not used for anything. So we're proud that it's now being used for T-ball. And there's, as fun as that is there's more of a method to the madness. We want to make sure the kids don't suffer from lost learning during the summer. So they learn a new skill. The kids play together. Kids who play together become adults who learn how to live together. So we're excited about that. We also have a youth citizens police academy for some of the older kids. So they get to come in the police department and they'll have an abbreviated police academy experience. So they get to learn everything about the agency. They learn our use of force policy. They learn what the canines do, the drones do, our real-time crime center. It's really informative. We feed them while they're there, and it's another way we engage with our youth during the summer.
Can I say that I'm slightly disappointed to hear that the T-ball league wasn't the actual officers playing T-ball?
That's fair.
That would, you know what?
Too competitive, probably.
Yeah, maybe we ought to start a T-ball league with the officers. Travel through the community and play different communities in T-ball.
Yes.
I think most importantly, our Bailey T class graduates in July.
Absolutely.
And there's a little over 20 in that. And then we're actually starting a second class in June. For the first time, we're running 2 concurrent classes in a year. for the first time in a long time.
Oh, wow.
Right. And by the time this airs, the police department would have played a hockey game against the fire department and defeated them.
I was about to say, you going to win?
Oh yeah. So when this plays, yes, the police department won the hockey game, but it's actually everybody wins because it's for a good cause, the Humane Society. But the police department will win.
I love your confidence.
Yes, I do too. So can you share a little more about all the different departments within the police department? Because I feel like a lot of people don't really know all this stuff that we have.
Yeah, so if you think about all the TV shows you see on television with the different Chicago, so we have it all. So we have a canine unit, we have a SWAT team, we have a vice and narcotics, we have detectives who specialize in everything from burglary to homicides, to crimes against children. So we have a records division, we have a communications division, we have a forensics unit, we have a canine unit, we have a traffic enforcement unit, we have a violent gun crime reduction unit, we have a violent firearm investigative team, and we have gangs unit. So you name it, we have it. We have park rangers out there making sure that everyone's behaving at the parks and doing the things they're supposed to do. So basically, that's a long way of saying there's plenty of opportunities at the police department. Sometimes folks get so caught up in, I don't want to be a police officer, but we have other positions where they can help the community there. And then for those who would like to be police officers, there's so many things, different things you can do in the agency. I didn't mention recruiting unit, and I worked in the recruiting unit. So it's just a ton of opportunities for our community.
Yeah, my oldest daughter, I took her to meet Philip, who works in forensics.
Yeah, Philip Seeds.
He took us through some of the stuff, and like the technology is just amazing now that you guys have that we can do.
So it's funny when Annie and I were on the way here, and we were talking about a recent arrest we had made, and we were saying to ourselves, Winston-Salem is not the place to commit a crime. Mm-hmm. Last year we had an 85% clearance rate on our homicides, and the clearance rate means either arrest was made or we know who did it. Sometimes there's a homicide and there's no crime. So self-defense, for example, that goes in a clearance rate. So 85% of our homicides were cleared. And so our aggravated assaults are the same, or probably that same range. We're really doing a good job with all the technology we have. And let's give the community credit too. When they speak up, we can get folks off the street that are committing crime. So this is not the city you want to commit crimes in.
I think when I did the City of Winston-Salem University, and the police department came on that night, they were talking about a program where the people that are willing, will give the footage from their videos and stuff, like the doorbell cameras. Like, how does that work?
So you can. Oftentimes people ask, "Hey, what can I do to help the police department?" They want to be a part of the solution. But I know sometimes you might live in a neighborhood, you're afraid to talk to the police, you don't want the police at your house. What you can do, however, is we all have cameras. We have them on our phones, but a lot of the Ring cameras, some of the interior mostly exterior cameras, the Arlos and the Google Home, all those, you have an opportunity. You can register with the police department that camera. That doesn't mean we can look in your camera at all. What it does mean is you might get an email from the police department and say, hey, last night between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m., somebody was going through your neighborhood pulling on car doors or breaking into cars. Do you have video footage from this hour to this hour? And you can either say, no, leave me alone. I hope you wouldn't say that. Or you can say, yes, I will, cut that off and send it to you. We've been able to solve crimes that way. That's one way that the community can help in solving crimes. The other way is this. When people hear that this program exists, it makes them think twice about committing crimes in the neighborhoods, and they'll go elsewhere. So, that's a really good program we have.
And you can register your camera at connectwinstonsalem.org. So that is for any community member, or there's a business program as well, and that's integrating your cameras. So there's 2 options.
That's cool. So what about as far as tips you provide local citizens on better safety? Do you have any of those?
Yeah, so you hear people go back and forth about this, but our research and what we've done says differently. Lock your car door. And then
it's
you have
surprising that people
well because a lot of times we hear, I didn't want to lock my car door because I was afraid they'd break the windows out. And you have to think about a criminal in the middle of the night. They don't want to bust a window out. That draws attention. Yeah. So what they do is they walk through neighborhoods and they pull on car doors. And there's an unlocked door. They get in there and they do what they need to do and they get out. And please, for God's sake, don't leave your car door unlocked and leave your keys in the vehicle gosh. Because we have folks doing that, and guns. And don't leave guns in your car. So a lot of times that's where some of our folks who mean us no good in the community are getting their guns from walking up to cars and searching through them and stealing guns. So I know that sounds simplistic, but that's a big problem that continues to plague our community. So that's one tip. Another tip: walk away from conflict. I mean, these shootings, these fights we're seeing. I mean, did it really matter that much that somebody called you a name or said something or flipped you off or whatever it is that's causing some of this conflict?
Because you can't take that back.
You can't take it back. I tell you all the time, you dislike someone so much that you want to shoot them. Okay. You don't even get to enjoy a life without them because you're going to prison.
Yeah.
What lesson was learned? Because they can't learn a lesson if they're dead.
Yeah, exactly. And so just walk away. I mean, I know for 5 minutes you'll be ticked off because you really wanted to do blah, blah, blah. But in 10 minutes, it'll be over. Yeah. So when the community does that, and I will tell you, at times, our community has been fantastic about that. But just walk away.
Yeah. Take some deep breaths.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like the COVID pandemic aided that a little bit. It seems like there was more anger since then.
Yeah. You know what? And it's funny you should say that. Since COVID, the United States is one of the few developed countries that folks are driving faster after COVID. It seemed like during COVID, most of the world said, okay, let me stop and smell the roses now. You know, maybe it wasn't a big deal to be in a hurry. And, I mean, some of our folks in the community, they're blowing the doors off with the speed. So I would ask them to slow down because almost like you said, it's no coming back from that. You get in a wreck at these speeds. Yeah. For what? For what? Going through that red light, the cycle isn't that long, but you might hurt somebody or yourself. Just slow down.
Been a lot of times where I've seen people act like that, either running lights or speeding, and then like the next intersection, I'm like, I caught up to you early. Was that worth it?
Right. Was it worth it?
Well, that and the doesn't apply to me people.
Yeah.
You know, there's a short span here on 4th Street between Cherry and Marshall. Both of those are no left turn, but they'll sit and hold up traffic, even though it says it there, because it doesn't apply to them.
It doesn't apply to me. So again, and maybe we're not doing a good enough job of explaining why that exists, or maybe again they don't care. But that's to keep the traffic moving. If folks get frustrated downtown about the traffic, sometimes trucks are making deliveries, and so it can get frustrating. But those no left turns, or so we don't back traffic up for block after block. So again, please.
So I've mentioned this one. You were on another podcast in here, and I mentioned something about this intersection before. Why? And I know this is planning and not you guys, but still. The intersection of Cherry Street and 1st Street. Why is that light not synced up with the Marshall Street light So when you get, because you get people who don't know that they're getting stopped there, and it will go through and they'll have 4 cars deep back in the way of Cherry Street, and then it takes so long. I mean, you said the cycles, there are a couple that the cycles are silly.
Right.
The cycle for that particular intersection, it always looks, oh, Tim's coming. So whichever way I'm coming, we're stopping him. But sometimes it is a long wait.
So there's a super spectacular, fantastic guy named Jeff Fansler with Traffic for the City. And he is awesome. And when I see him, I'm saying, I gave you a shout out. So expect some calls. He can help with that. But I get the frustration, you know, when you're trying to do the right thing and they're not synced up and you're like, and maybe in some of those instances, that's where people say, you know what, this ain't worth it. I'm gonna go ahead and it's turning yellow. I'm a bust through it because I can't wait through that. Mm-hmm. But no, he'd be glad to help with that. He's a great guy.
Excellent.
I know who you're contacting.
Right now. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, the city's transportation director. Yeah.
So is there I'm sure there is, but is there anything you can share about sort of the coming years? Is there anything you have planned in the police department?
Yeah, so Annie touched on it. We're doing a hiring blitz, and we're really excited. We're getting some fantastic candidates, applicants coming in, and while those classes are large, it's important for the community to know that we're only hiring people with a public servant's heart. Mm-hmm. And I've been saying this since I've been chief because we've been short on staffing since I've been in chief. I'm willing to roll with that great team I have now, short, than to just bring people on just to fill up slots. That's not what we're going to do. Part of the reason it's taking us so long to get back where we are is because we are picky, as we should be. We're giving folks a gun and a badge, and they're going out, and they have a tremendous responsibility, and we need to make sure that they can hold up their end of the bargain by being compassionate towards our citizens, however, holding folks accountable who are out here doing the things they shouldn't do. So I would tell you that every time we lose one single police officer, it takes a year to replace them. Yeah. A whole calendar year to replace them. So the important thing is let's keep the ones we have, the good ones. And so part of that is my job. However, the community plays a large role in retention and recruiting officers. So the support they get, and we get a ton of support from our community. So I ask that the community keep up with that support, you know, tell them they're doing a good job. When they're not, tell me. Tell me we're not doing a good job and let me address it. But the folks out there, they're willing to put their lives on the line for you all. So sometimes it's nice for them to hear a thank you. They really appreciate it. They say they don't, but they do.
So when I did the City of Winston-Salem University class, I don't remember what it's called, but isn't there something that's sort of like a Citizens Academy?
Yes. So I touched on the youth one earlier, but then there's a Big People's Citizens Police Academy. And I think that's about 12 weeks. It's on Thursdays. 6 to 8, 6 to 9, mm-hmm. Yes, and they get to learn everything. You know, I think folks leave the Citizens Police Academy shocked because they thought, "Hey, I thought these were trade secrets." and oddly enough, there's not much, unless it's a current investigation, that we don't tell folks. We want you to know our use of force policy. We want you to know when we can use this versus that, because we want you to stop before it gets to that point. So you learn about that. You learn how we use canines, our drones, again, the Real-Time Crime Center, our SWAT team, the capabilities of our forensics folks, what our records department does, and the fantastic job our communications does when you call 911, and what has to happen between that phone call till an officer is showing up at your door. We love for folks to know about that. So yeah, the Citizens Police Academy, and a lot of folks have come through the Citizens Police Academy and later joined the force
Wow.
in different capacities. So
cool.
it's a very rewarding experience.
And how many times a year is it offered?
Just the one.
Yeah, we
Once,
only do
1
it
year.
once a year, and we start typically in the fall time.
Oh.
So the applications will be up here shortly.
How many people are usually in it?
It ranges between probably 15 to 25, I would
Yeah.
say. I think
So
they
they're
cap
pretty
it
small, yeah.
around 20 just because there's a lot that goes on with it.
Yeah, it's really hands-on. In fact, you get to do a firearms training simulator, right? And so some of our folks, especially, we have folks who are critical of the police department. I know that's shocking, right? And in particular, some of the use of force. And so they get to go in a room and they get to, in real life, deal with someone. And they have all the tools that we have at their disposal. And a person will come up and you give them commands to stop. And sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. And what do? And what we find is citizens are much quicker to shoot somebody for for whatever reason, than we are. But it also, when they leave, they get a real understanding of how quick police officers have to make life-changing decisions. They've shot people who were reaching for telephones before, or they were trying to shake the hand, all those things. And so officers have to work through that and deal with that. And sometimes it's nice for the community to know it's not as easy as, why didn't they shoot him in the leg? Why did they shoot so many times? So we talk through all of that.
Yeah, when I did my ride-along, I forgot the officer's name, but you could tell he had training on how to de-escalate
Right.
situations. So,
Right. So
And that's important.
yeah.
And that is, because the worst thing to do is come and pour more gasoline on a flammable situation. And so I talk all the time about, as many tools as we have on our tool belts, our most important tool is our mouth. And we use that 90% of the time. So if you get good at being able to talk people through situations and de-escalate, you'll go home with a clean uniform at night.
Yeah. Well, how can people find out about the police department?
I'll give that one to Annie.
So they can reach out at joinwspdnow.org, and we have all of our application information. We also just have information about our department on there, and that's where we say you go and start the process, or you reach out to recruiting. We'll reach out to you and we'll get you in the process. Or if you just want to come join about Citizens Police Academy, you citizens, check our social media out. We have all the information about our department on there, and that's at City of WS Police. And that's on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and X.
And I don't know if you know it off the top of your head, but do you know the non-emergency number?
I do. If you have to file a report, or if you just have a general question that is not an emergency, you can call it at 336-773-7700.
Well, thank you guys for joining us today and sharing all this great information with our community.
Oh, thank you for having us. We loved
Protecting
it.
all of us.
Yes.
Thank you. Well, this is Twin City Talk. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram. The views and opinions portrayed by guests on this podcast are not necessarily those of the distributors and hosting companies. And if you love this podcast, that's great, but don't think about stealing it. Reach out to us and talk about the content, because it is copyrighted.